Okay, quick video. I want to talk about two scales. I'm going to focus on one, but these two scales have something in common and make them unique. There are two modes I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to be talking about Dorian mode, which is derived from the major scale, and I'm going to be talking about the fifth mode of the melodic minor. And these two scales are special, and I'll tell you why. There is this concept in, I guess it would be linguistics, called a palindrome. A palindrome, I'll give you an example, I think you'll see what I'm talking about here. The name Hannah is a palindrome. The name Bob is a palindrome. They're perfectly symmetrical. You can spell them frontwards and backwards, you get the same result. It turns out that the Dorian mode and the fifth mode of the melodic minor are palindromic in that their construction is totally reversible, and it makes them unique for an 8-note scale. And there may be others. I'm sure we could invent some. But obviously the chromatic scale, the whole tone scale, can be reversed, and they're exactly the same forwards and backwards from a construction perspective. So let's talk about the Dorian really quick. So the Dorian mode, we get the Dorian mode by basically playing through the the second. So if we're talking about, let's say, D Dorian. Well, if we look at the C major scale, to pull out the Dorian, you get C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and it goes on. C, then we have D, E, we have B, but this is basically one octave right here. And so this mode here is, this is our major scale, or what they call the Ionian mode. Well, to get the Dorian mode, basically just start on the second degree of the major scale and go up an octave, and you get a Dorian scale, and it has this palindromic quality about it, and I'll show you. I'll prove it, unless maybe you've already noticed this. So if I look at this, if I compare the Ionian mode, which is not palindromic, it's got a construction like this. You've got basically your major scale goes, you've got a root, you've got a 2, a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is a whole step between this one, a whole step between the second and third. There's a half step between that E and F, right? There's a whole step between FA, FG. There's a whole step, and then last, there's a half step. So you get this construction: whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half. Excuse me, that's not right. Whole, whole, half, whole, half, right? Between C and D is a whole step, D and E, whole step, E and F, half step, F, G, whole step, G and A, whole step, A and B, whole step, B and C, a half step. So you can see they're not reversible. It's not palindromic. But if I look at this construction of the Dorian, we've got basically what we get is a root. You get a 2, you get a minor 3, you get a 4, you get a 5, you get a 6, a minor 7, and the octave. And if we look at the distances between these steps, root and 2, you get a whole step, you get a half step, you get a whole step, you get a whole step between 4 and 5, you get a whole step between 5 and 6, you get a whole step between 6, you get a half step, my mistake, and then you get a whole step between the minor 7 and 8. And you can see that whole, half, whole, 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 half, whole. If we divide this in the middle here, you can see it's perfectly symmetrical. It's perfectly reversible. And so that makes it kind of unique, at least in major harmony. And you'll just have to trust me when I tell you that the 5th mode of the melodic minor, which is, some call it the Hindu scale, and it's basically a 7th, what's a flat 6. It's essentially a mixolydian with a lowered 6. Mixo with a lowered 6. So yeah. So what's interesting about that is that if you're like writing like counterpoint or something, you can have perfect reflections of like voices. There will always be, especially when we're talking about like counter motion, you know, to just illustrate, if you have a line in Dorian, you know, going up and then down, and then counterpoint that line, you know, starting on the same note, you can have a perfect reflection. Perfect, like the matching distances exactly, and that looks like a mouth. Anyways, I wrote a quick and dirty little, you know, 4-bar concept that illustrates this. Check it out. Anyways, Hindu scale, same thing in the melodic minor. So anyways, I'm kind of interested to see if there's other interesting applications with these, or if there's anything else that makes those two special. Anyways, that's pretty nerdy, I know, but I thought I'd share.